Welcome to Color Me Happy. My name is Brandy Hofer. Welcome to our 100th freaking episode. Holy smokes, that's like a lot of time. I am a author, educator, muralist, artist, mother to 3, and just trying to figure life out in general and help you along the way. I feel like the greatest gift of all that I have found is teaching and helping others through these things that I didn't have help with. For example, things have come totally full circle in my community in the fact that I started a program, founded a program, and it's a program that I wish I had had. And another example is when I wrote my book, it was like a book that I needed to read, but also needed to write to get through some heavy stuff. And I want to be perfectly honest with you because I feel like this is totally unfiltered anyways, so I might as well. My dad's not feeling well. He's in the hospital. Pretty big life stuff. And when this happens and your family needs you, life comes to this like complete standstill. And even though the world keeps spinning around you, your body and your mind feel suspended and stagnant, and with everything and everyone blurring by, and your voice is like no longer heard among the rush. All of the things I feel like that I needed to do just fall away, and what I thought was important no longer carries the same weight. It's like letting go of everything that you were dragging, and you just sprint in the direction of the people you love, where they can hold you and you can hold them. Finding comfort, finding pause. It's the foreign stillness of the woods where you can take a moment to hear the birds chirping and you finally notice butterflies like landing on a leaf. We are in that right now. Until I don't want to share everything because it's very personal, which read my book if you want the whole story. It's a motivational book, so most of you have read it if you're listening to my podcast. I know that already. And my greatest journey in life is helping others. And so every experience that I'm going through, I somehow turn it around and try to help others. And it's the most rewarding, honest, wonderful journey I've ever been on. So I'm truly grateful for you being here. I just want to say, so send love and healing our way, and sometimes things happen, and worrying about the future it's a complete waste of time and energy. So we're just taking this day by day and minute by minute and doing our best and showing up in all our forms. Show up in all your forms all the time. Just like life is like, see your everyday ordinary as extraordinary, because there are just times when life kicks your ass, and those little things that normally bug you in the day-to-day, you're like, these dishes. What I wouldn't give to have dishes as my biggest worry at this moment right now. So yeah, anyway, I'm really excited that you're here, and I'm really excited. I'm not that excited. I'm pretty sad. But I am really proud of what we've accomplished here with what we've brought others with this podcast, and the extraordinary people we've interviewed, and the time that they've given you and I. And so many others. And of course, for our 100th episode, we had to bring back Heather, our most popular and listened to guest, because she always takes our topics and actually says understandable things that you can take away. Not only that, but topics that people don't talk about openly, and they need to hear about and they need to be discussed. So what topic I threw at Heather was partnerships and sex and money. Sex and money. No, it's not really. It's kind of what we talked about, but we talked about like partnerships, friendships, and we talked about sexual partners and life partners and business partners and what those look like. And it's a very useful podcast for you in your life. And I hope you enjoy it. Also, I wanted to let you know that our sketchbook project is now a weekly prompt. If you were part of it last spring, a lot of people were, but a lot of people who are joining weren't a part of it. So it just goes to show you how good social media is. We're launching it again this summer because it's a really fun summer project. We do a lot of like walking and flower pressing and like discovery and exploration. And it's fun to do at any artistry level. And it's really fun to do. Like I said, like I always want you to see your everyday ordinary as extraordinary. And this is something you can fit into your everyday and make those beautiful connections with either art groups, like your kids, friends, whatever. Like this is a very applicable weekly prompt. It's easy breezy and you don't have to stick to it. It just is, it's to ignite creativity and ideas. So it's free to join. The link is in the notes here in this podcast. So enjoy this. Once again, thank you for being here. I don't know if I should have, whatever. I shared what I'm going through. I always do anyway, even though it's heavy. And I was supposed to celebrate with our 100th episode. Listen to topic, I guess. It is. So it's funny. A funny statistic is sex and money are the top listen to topics.
That's interesting.
So, yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And maybe it's because it's topics that people are uncomfortable talking about. So when they're listening to a podcast kind of like by themselves, they're like, I like this because two people are talking about it candidly and openly.
Yes.
And I love to talk about it candidly and openly, and nobody is.
Yeah. Or sex and money are two things that people want more of. So why not listen to it?
That also is why. You're right. You're totally right. So actually our topic today is partnerships and exchange, like basic exchanges. And I mean, that can mean so many things. Relationships and partnerships, business and partnerships. And well, those are the main ones. And those go along with sex and money too.
They
Big
do.
time.
And maybe that's our theme today. Sex and money.
Sex and money.
Yeah.
That's the name of the podcast.
Maybe.
Sex and money. It'll be like thousands of people. It'll go viral.
It would.
Sex and money. We solved it all.
Yeah. You could look at partnerships within friendships too, because
I was just going to say friendships.
Interesting ways to look at that in terms of like a give and a take as well, or a balancing act within that.
So let's start there.
Sure.
Let's start there with, yourself in those like friendships and relationships, and then when you think of like your children or like when you were young, relationships and partnerships and friendships.
They're a lot of work, aren't they? And I think what's happening now, and I'll speak from a personal perspective, is there's so much that like I want to accomplish as a mother, as a professional, as a person, as a woman, that it can be really tricky to do all of those things and then maintain the beautiful friendships that I have and find the time to balance within those beautiful friendships too. So I feel like there's a lot, and I think we've talked about this too, about spending time or talking with people that light us up in those moments versus draining us. And I think those are really important questions to ask when we're having any type of collaborative relationship, friendship, sexual partnership, working relationship. Do we feel lit up? Do we feel fulfilled after those interactions? Because we're taking time away from our own needs and progress and goals and futures too. And we want to fill that time up with things that really reinforce that too. So it's interesting.
Well, I mean, I say this all the time, but I'll never stop saying it. That time is our most precious commodity.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so if you're in a friendship that is draining you,
Yeah.
like why?
Why? And we're getting older. Like
I know.
We are, and it's harder. And, my husband jokes because he said even last night, he's like, well, I'm turning 37. I was like, who? You are turning 40 this year.
I was going to say, he is the same age as my husband.
He is.
So he's just like, I'll stop at 37.
He stops at 37. And I was like, that'd be great. Let's all stop at 37. But we are getting older, and there are, kids are taking up more time, and there's things that need to be balanced even within that too, where, I love spending time with my kids, and I love furthering my education, and I love my friends too. And then there's this guilt that sometimes comes in where it's like, okay, so the next time we can have coffee is like May 31st between 2:45 and 3:15. Like,
yeah,
it's tiring.
Yeah.
And I wish I had an answer for balancing it, but I think it's maintaining connection and also not taking things personally. Like for our friendship, we get our husbands together and the kids together like once a year, and it's super fun, and I would love to do it more, but I don't know how we would be able to do that.
No, it's just not realistic because you and I stick really hard to our long-term goals and our personal goals for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, something's got to give somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that.
Yep.
I'm sure you're okay with it too. Like, I don't need, like, social situations kind of are draining for me. So I like just doing them once in a while, and then, being alone.
Yeah.
Or,
and
or with the kids.
Yeah.
But also with the kids, there needs to be something there where, like, people can't be constantly around one another. No. It's just not realistic.
It's exhausting.
So that's a whole nother topic to jump into, but we'll stick to friendships. But I think it's a really great season of life, and I'm sure you feel the same way, is that the friendships that weren't working naturally kind of fall away.
Yep.
Yeah.
They do. I think, and then there's acceptance that needs to come within that too. So even going back to what you said of just like, there's personal goals, there's things we're trying to do, and family lives that we're trying to raise and grow and nurture, is acceptance that the friendship is still there despite all of that busyness too. And you can pick up the phone, you can call that person, you can reach out. There will be a connection still there if you nurture it and foster it too, and find that time. So,
and a lot of times if it's a good friendship, it just kind of picks up where it left off.
It does.
Like you don't even need to, like, you can do an odd check-in. Like I have a really good friend from high school, and she's really good at doing the check-in, because I always say I'm the worst friend, and but I'm okay. But
you're an okay friend.
I'm an okay friend. But everyone knows we're just, you don't mean to be like, no. I'm kind and genuine, and if people don't need to talk to me weekly, then we're good. We're friends, basically. That's and good. I like those friendships. But she always just checks in, or she sees me doing something really ridiculous on Instagram and makes a joke about it, which is great. And she lives far away now, and we both are very career driven, but have lots of children. And we have great conversations, and we just pick up where we left off. Like if I'm in Calgary, we go for lunch and have the best lunch ever. Or we just poke fun at each other, or mostly her poking fun at me because I do ridiculous. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I know. When I did the hair tutorial, I'm sure you didn't see it. So many people watch me do really redundant things on Instagram. I'm almost like poking to see like, what will they watch next?
Testing the waters.
Just like, where's the limit here? which is fine, but it's so funny because the most redundant things people somehow gravitate toward the most, and I find it so funny. And I said I would never do a makeup or hair tutorial, but I was like, I just want to see how many people watch me do this shit.
Yeah.
And so, but I love the boxer braid one because it is such a good mom hack that you can like do your hair for boxer braids for like 2 days and wear it without your hair getting like super greasy or anything. And you can like put them up or bun them or pigtail, like do different things with boxer braids, and then have it out and do some, like just have mermaid hair, and then the next day you can do like a high pony, high bun, half up, it's like a 4-day hairdo. It's a time saver. I feel like it was a practical.
I need to watch it.
I just did it in stories. So it like doubled my story views, which was insane. But and hilarious. But I said, look, now you can wear your hair like this or with your glasses. And she's like, you can wear your hair with your glasses? It's just like,
just called you out on it.
I'm like, as soon as that sentence came out of my mouth, even like I questioned what I was saying. It was just like, you can wear your hair with your glasses.
Yeah. Good.
This look great with your glasses. And
good advice, Brandy.
Just like, she just laughed and I laughed too. And that's just a perfect example of like, you're on the same page and you don't care. You're not going to be like, you haven't called me. What the fuck's going on? Right? And like hold them in like resentment and anger.
Yeah. Well, and I think we can tie that into some of the stuff we've talked about before, where even in our intimate partnerships and our relationships, being able to vocalize, I need to hear from you more. I miss you. I need some time. I would love to sit and reminisce about when we were in college. Like, to be able to kind of verbalize some of those needs, even within our friendships too, I think could be really helpful.
So let's go into relationships.
Yeah.
Too, and
balancing them.
Yeah, because that's something you can't just like leave and pick up off.
No. This is such an interesting time in my marriage right now too to talk about this, because my husband is seeding, so he is
farming.
Yes, farming.
Just so
putting
he's
crop
seeding out there.
In.
He's seeding as in farming.
Yes, and we have so there's lots of acres that need to be taken care of, and so he's usually gone somewhere between 6 and 7 in the morning and home anywhere from 10 to midnight. Really depends on the day.
It's crazy.
So with the 3 kids, and then I've gone back to school. So I started grad school at the beginning of May. So we started seeding, we started grad school, and it's busy. So we've shifted the balance in our lives. And this is some stuff that him and I have talked about quite a bit, is it can't always be 50-50 between us. Like right now, I'm doing 100% of our family related work. And I have to go, it took me a few years to like realize what this meant for our family and how I was supposed to embrace it. But I can't get resentful. I can't get angry that I'm doing 100%, because he has to give his 100% to the farm and to our livelihood and to our future. So the awareness of that, there's no 50-50 between the two of us. Maybe we'll hit that one day or a day in our lives that will match, but it's about looking at the week and saying, okay, who needs more of this right now? Who needs more support because of career-focused goals or school-focused goals, or just their own social needs that have to happen? And how are we going to make that fit? So some weeks it might look like right now where it's 100 and essentially nothing in terms of family-related stuff. Or maybe it's 60-40, or maybe it's 90-10 because somebody's sick. But moving through that in a really fluid way has helped us really embrace some of these busier times that we have.
So for you, seasonally?
Seasonally, yeah. So May and June, I usually count them out of everything that I know I have to either rely on other family members, or sometimes I pre-book babysitters. I'll start in April and look at my May and I'll be like, I'm going to need a night off by 2 weeks in. And I'm just going to book that babysitter. I went to Flavor Fest on the weekend.
Oh, nice.
It was fantastic. And I'll do the same for kind of mid-August to mid-October. It's just knowing like he needs to give that focus. And I'll never forget this. We only had 2 kids at the time. And I was pissy. I was exhausted. The kids were little. And he was gone so much, and I was, texting and mad at him and the big messages and you're never home and not really understanding the gravity. And he finally just clapped back and he said, I need you to be okay so that I can be okay when I'm doing all of this. He needs to be able to focus and work hard.
It's just with the business he's in, like that is where he is there. Like there's no workaround.
Nope, there's nothing. He can't just take a day off and help. He needs to be able to work. And because it's weather dependent and all of the fun things that go along with a farming family. So when he said that, it was a huge brain shift, and it opened up our communication to understanding balance during those busier times. And now it's translated into things like kids sports through the winter. We had 10 hockey practice or skates a week this past winter. I don't know how you manage that, but we did. So it was Sunday nights, we would sit down and we would look at the week. Who needs to go where? Who's working less that day to be able to pick up from practice? And it's very pre-planned and communicated to try and accommodate not only work needs, but social needs, independence needs, sex needs, whatever might need to be blocked off into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Carly came home half an hour ago. He's like, we have 15 minutes. And I was like, Heather's going to be here in 15 minutes. He's like, great. I was like, no. Because if she comes early, because he just like, he's like in his mind, he's like, no kids around, huh?
Right?
Just like
instantly jumps to
and I'm like,
time.
This is my work day. Mm-hmm. This is a no sex zone day.
Yeah.
I haven't even eaten, except for the like oatmeal and tacos I stuffed in my mouth because it's like back to back, which is bad planning on my part. It happened to you today. It happened to me today. And I'll probably regret it later, and I'll probably be super burnt out and grumpy. So, there we go. So let's talk about that more. So because we can get resentful and angry, and I know because it happens.
Absolutely it does.
You guys sit down. That's one way of opening that line of communication. But I feel like these things are learned over like actually physically going through them.
Yeah, they are. And that was a big piece with our seasonal changes was they were not as, this one feels probably the easiest. I think every year that we go into the farm season, it gets easier. But it's knowing these little tricks that I might need to move through it because I know I have a lot of pressure on my shoulders, and then acknowledging that just because he's not doing the family stuff, it doesn't mean he's MIA and not doing anything too. But it's progressive. It's looking at it every year. It's high-fiving each other at the end of a busy season and saying, geez, we actually made it through. I really appreciate this about you, and he really appreciates this about me. And having some of those acknowledgement conversations too. So
coming back to acknowledgement.
Yeah.
I can never spell that word. And gratitude.
Absolutely. An appreciation statement. So there's a few practices that we'll try to, and that I do share with a lot of the clients and couples that I work with, is daily appreciation statements, even when you're mad. So I appreciate that you made me eggs this morning, or I appreciate that you really focused on my pleasure last night. I appreciate how hard you work, those types of things. And I emphasize always, even when we're mad at each other, because just because we've had an argument doesn't take away from the amazing things that our partner holds as well. Mm-hmm. So being able to share that and move through it. And not all of us are, love language of words of affirmation, but sometimes it can be so needed as we are moving through challenging times too. Mm-hmm.
We do we're not very good at stick-to-itiveness, but we do.
That's a good word.
We do what went well, because it's a shitstorm right now. Yeah. The season of life we're in. We're both full-time business owners, and so it's like we're both being pulled 100% somewhere else and trying to parent. So it's a lot all at once. But when you're just like, what went well for us today?
What did we
and then it pulls out these really great stories that we would have never talked about or said.
Yeah, I really love that one went well. The other one that can be really helpful so when things are going well, great, we can acknowledge that. And when things get really hard, we sometimes tend to go to our trauma responses of shutting down, of running away, of,
I don't want to talk to anyone right now.
Exactly.
Don't fucking come in this room.
Exactly that. So in those moments, though, how we try and repair, how we try and connect can be really crucial. And a lot of times, whether you're male, female, whatever gender, we want to fix it. We don't want our partner to be upset or shut down or hurt or scared or angry anymore. So we jump to fixing it. And one of the things that, actually, I'll be honest, Jean is way better at this than I am. I tend to hold on to my pissiness a little bit longer, is asking the question, what can I do to support you right now? What can I do for you? How can I show up for you right now? Those types of sentiments can shift the narrative from piss off, I don't need help, I don't need you to fix it, to what do I actually need right now, to a reflective state to be able to maybe work together on it.
And maybe that does mean like 10 minutes of
silence.
Just like, let me cool down for 1 sec.
Yep.
Or 10 minutes or whatever it takes. I feel like, Carly is the better one in the relationship, always has been at that. So, which is like, I'm just like the emotions and I'll say what I feel and think. But I feel like it's more constructive than like holding that resentment.
It is.
Inside. And then our ability to just be like, move on from it is very great because we just said it right away.
Yeah.
We just,
you move through it.
And when we talked about this in past episodes, is communication was such a big one. It's like, I feel like, or, and that was communication in the bedroom, but
it translates into the kitchen.
Yeah. Like, I just need this right now. Like, people can't read your mind.
No.
Your male partner especially, or whatever partner you have, like, they can't read your mind. No. If you're not saying that you're mad, Carly especially, doesn't know that I'm mad. Or, like, with my cycle. I know leading up to that, I'm just a little bit more on edge and not being able to cope with anxiety and stress as well.
Yeah.
So I just say, my period's coming up. Watch out for that.
Yeah.
I'm just not able to handle the noise of this room as well as usual, or like I might need a break this day, or I had a shit thing happen wherever, right?
And
like
I think
saying
that's
those things.
Great, because you're pre-planning right then and there. You're looking at what's coming up for the week, and that's a sizable chunk to take on, right? Sometimes it's the next hour, sometimes it's the next day, but sometimes you can flash forward for the week and say, like, you know what, my period's coming, I'm feeling the heaviness already, this is where I'm going to be at, I'm going to ask for this. Like, I think that's a fantastic way to open up conversations about what our emotions are doing and our bodies are doing.
Yeah. Why am I crying at this whale commercial? Like,
just last night I was finishing Firefly Lane, and I've been wanting to finish.
Oh my gosh, I just finished it last week.
Yeah, so he came home early. So here I am settling into the couch with the box of Kleenex, because I know I've been leading up to this. I've been crying every episode. I just got my period, so I was like a mess leading up to this anyways. And he comes in the door, and I haven't seen him. He's been busy, and I was like, listen, I paused the show. I was like, I don't want to talk. I said, you can be in here, but you can't watch me. You cannot watch me watch this show, because I'm going to be a mess. Yeah. And I need to be a mess.
I want to feel this now.
I need to feel all of the things. I've been very invested in this series. Don't look at me. And he was like, okay. But, just being able to vocalize that and have the safety to be able to do it and that's a silly example, but it's true though.
It's a relatable example, because every woman who watched that did that in the last 2 weeks. So, okay, let's talk about the beginning of it ebbs and flows. No one's perfect. No one's like killing it at relationships all the time.
No.
But let's talk about the beginning of a relationship that looks like that before partners, like living together, or before marriage, or before, having kids and all that. Like, where does that start? Like a really good, healthy, or someone who's in a toxic relationship where you're like, maybe it's not, this is not, I don't know if you've come across that in your practice.
Yeah.
But like, what information would you give? Like, what are some red flags and what are some steps? And
I like to talk about green flags, which is a really cool concept over red flags. Because if we talk about red flags, then all we're looking at are the negative things.
Right.
But if we talk about green flags, then we're actually giving like a version of what we would like to see happen, which I think can be really helpful for people to wrap their heads around too. I'm going to go back to that sense of feeling emotionally safe with someone, accepted by someone, and being able to share openly and communicate with a person. So one of the things that's actually coming to mind of how we can authentically show up and even see how that person takes it in at the beginning is asking ourselves, you pull into their driveway, because let's say we're not living together yet. You pull into their driveway, do a quick check and say, what version of myself am I bringing into this relationship today? So maybe you've had a really hard day at work. Do you want to bring that stress, that energy into that space, or are you setting it aside and showing up differently? And you can say, yes, I need to bring this stress in. I can't let it go yet. So then what I like to try and advise or think of doing, and Jean and I have tried this too, is when I walk in the door, before I walk in the door, I'll shoot him a text. I'm showing up in this way today. I'm showing up exhausted, I'm showing up grumpy, I'm showing up stressed at work, and I'd like 10 minutes to vent where you just get to listen to it. And then his reciprocation of that, yeah, I got you. Or, you know what, I'm showing up stressed and tired. Let's take 10 minutes apart before we even try and do some of that. Or let's turn on music instead and disconnect in a different way. Or actually, that would be connecting in my mind. So I love that question. Which version of yourself is showing up in this relationship today? Can you share it with that person and feel heard and emotionally safe? And then how are they reciprocating that back to you? I think are some really cool ways to understand what those early stages are looking like.
So is there times when you advise people, like, maybe this isn't like the relationship that you should see as long term? Like, how can you even, because I know when it comes to counseling and any sort of like psychology or any, like, you have to let the person come to their own conclusion.
You do.
Is that how that works?
Yeah. And that's where I explore emotional safety. So, and I do a lot of somatic experiences and practices.
I just talked about that in my
Did
last
you?
podcast. She was telling me I'd love to hear about that.
Oh, I love
from
somatic
you.
stuff. So even noticing when this can happen when we are watching movies with someone, when we're cooking alongside someone, when we give someone a present, when we have sex with someone. What's happening inside your body? Are you tense? Are you rigid? Are you soft? Are you breathing deeply to your full capacity? Are you holding your breath? Do you feel like your throat is constricted? So I'll do a lot of somatic exploration with folks. Let's say they have an example of when they got into an argument with their person, and explore what's showing up. What is your body potentially telling you in those moments? Can be a really cool internal way to explore it. And then a lot of it is exploring emotional safety. And so when I think of emotional safety, it is, are you able to express your feelings? If you show those feelings, are you being held? Are you being rejected? Is your partner walking away from you and slamming a door? How do you repair after those instances? Because like you said, not every relationship's going to be perfect all of the time. We're going to fight. Even the ones with strong communication skills, you are going to fight. So then how do you repair? I almost think you should
fight.
You should.
Or you're not, I don't say right way to do this, but if you're not fighting, like I said, if you're holding it all in, like, it's just not constructive either. From personal experience or like witnessing, say, my parents' marriage. Like, my dad would say, your mom would hold a grudge for like 3 months long. And it's just like that. They're clearly not together. Divorced when I was 12. Like, that's not a constructive.
Well, and there's no emotional safety there either. Because then, how do you approach someone who's holding this lengthy grudge and feel like your words are going to be heard? That there's going to be that space being held for you. One of the things I feel like is a really good green flag is, do partners know how to hold space for one another? So even if someone is really mad, like let's say Carly does make a really stupid mistake and you are legitimately angry at him and you have every right to be and to move through that fight, can he hold space for your anger though, without letting his defensiveness, his stonewalling or whatever behavior he might gravitate towards show up in that? Can he hold space for that anger so that you can express it and move through it? I think is a beautiful green flag to be able to look for in relationships too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, coming out of it together.
Yeah.
I want to talk about business relationships too.
Okay.
I think just jumping ship.
No, we're going to cover it all.
Yeah, because we literally have a time crunch schedule today.
Yes.
Finn comes home for piano.
Okay, what time?
We're good. We're
okay.
at 25 minutes, so or something like that.
Sure.
Hopefully. Yeah, so we're good. But when they come, it's like there's no functioning
it's
in
chaos.
an adult conversation.
Yep.
Which I posted about and it was hilarious, I think. It's just whatever. Business relationships. Mm-hmm. They can be so, like, they boil my blood the most, probably.
Okay.
Like when there's one that's not being reciprocated, or like it probably just frustrates me the most.
Yeah.
Like, and like it sits in the wrong place the most, like for stress. Like I can't let go of those, because I mean, when you work every day.
Yep.
You work every day.
It's your livelihood.
So, yeah, which I like what I do because I actually get to choose who I'm around now. Mm-hmm. Just set that up.
It's perfect. I love it for you.
But not everyone has that. No. And I have been in positions and jobs where it's been years and you're like working with these people and you're like, oh, F me to see, let's call them Joe again today. Fuck. Okay, so business, partnerships, and relationships. Let's talk about what good ones look like, and let's talk about like boundaries, and let's talk about like when we should, reach out to, because I've also been in ones where you have to report it. And let other people take hold of the situation. So let's talk about like healthy working partnerships and relationships in business.
Okay. This is so interesting, because when I was training our sexual assault center staff last spring on a adult supporting survivors group, where we had a segment or a section in that group for survivors of sexual violence focused on green flags in relationships. I shifted it to be a more professional activity to demo, and we did green flags in collaborative, like working partnerships. So what would some of those green flag looks like? So it was really interesting, and a lot of it was kind of the same, but being able to feel safe to share our ideas and opinions, to practice active listening. So not only listening to someone to speak after them, but listening to truly understand what that person is saying. And then we talked a lot about accountability as well. So being able to, when something doesn't feel right, or when there's been an altercation or an interaction in a professional setting that maybe felt awkward or off. I'm sure we can all think of something where that's happened, where we left the meeting, where we left the phone call and we're like, that did not like feel very good. Is to be able to go back to that person and have an authentic conversation to say, I felt off from this. I'd like to hash that out with you. Can we see, maybe did we miss something? Could we look at it differently? Is there more that you'd like to say? And to be open in that sense. And that's coming, like, I work in a very safe environment in terms of teammanship and collaboration amongst coworkers. So I've learned a lot from that perspective of it. But I think a lot of those conversations can be frowned upon too, that we shouldn't be that vulnerable in workplace
business.
Settings.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, we're taught
to close up,
it's
to
like
be
keeping
professional
language. But I don't think that's we're human.
We're human still. So we do have to acknowledge that we have emotions and issues outside of work. Not saying that they have to impact our job, but if I come into the office and I have had a really rough morning with the kids and I feel chaotic in my mind, heart, and body, that is going to transfer into the first bit of my day. So if I show up and I say to my colleague, I'm feeling a little off today, I just need about a half hour to have a coffee, and then can we bump our meeting? I'm being authentic and I'm not negatively impacting the professional relationship that I have if there's wiggle room within that. So I think that our culture and society might be shifting to more of a healthy perspective when it comes to workplaces and relationships and being authentic and vulnerable in those. But I think that there's a way to go too.
Yeah. There's also a line, right?
There is a line.
A business line.
Yeah. Well, and that, oh gosh, we could go so much into so many different places with that, because I think there is workplace cultures that need to be respected and honored too. That there's only so much that you should and could share in a professional setting. And then there's your own individual boundaries. So there are some folks who maybe are more open to talking about their kids in a workplace setting and football practice and whatever it might be, or where we went for holidays and talk about those things. And then there might be coworkers that don't want to share much, if anything at all, about their private lives. So being able to just accept where folks are at and how they're
navigate and be consciously aware.
Yeah. Yes.
Practice a lot of awareness.
I think that, and also providing options for sharing. And I think just because of being, I've learned a lot about adult ed and learning styles, that if we had a room full of people right now and I were to say, okay, we're all going to go around the table and share one unique thing about ourselves. That's a very traditional way of collaborating and starting meetings, right? Not everyone is going to feel comfortable with finding a unique thing, and maybe even saying it out loud.
Saying it out loud, big one.
Yes.
So many people feel so uncomfortable in that exact situation.
They do. So are there alternative ways to connect with a group of people that may not be putting somebody on the spot, that may not be talking about something personal? You're looking at a general topic of sharing. I think that there's some really creative exercises out there that can make you feel connected in professional settings, but don't impede on someone's boundaries that you may not even know exist.
Okay, so what happens if you're in a situation where someone has overshared or
affected your boundary?
Right.
That's an interesting question, and in a professional setting. I have so many questions about this. So first I'm thinking about the power dynamics within the relationship, because professional relationships do have power dynamics. Does someone have more power than the other person? Perceived power, because that's all perceived, I think. And you mentioned something about reporting too. So if it's an overshare, if it's borderline on something that's sexualized and could be conducive to sexual harassment, then we have some reporting obligations and opportunities within human resources and that sort of thing to take a stand against it. So yeah, I think that's such a huge question.
I know,
I'm not sure
it is
how
a
to
big
answer that one.
It is a big one.
Yeah.
And I think, those suck.
They do. I think when I think of boundary crossing, I like to talk about the difference between intent and impact. So let's say you and I are in a professional meeting, which this is probably one, even though we're friends. Professional meeting.
Where we swear and say whatever we want.
Yeah. Professional meeting, and my intention, maybe I share like a really inappropriate joke, and my intention is just to be funny and to break the ice and to make you laugh. But let's say that joke lands really uncomfortably for you. So while my intention was humorous, the impact is what matters. So I can't control how other people are going to be impacted around me, but I can have ownership over acknowledging the impact was not okay and what could I do differently going forward. Mm-hmm. So it becomes very personalized on the person who's maybe done the offending behavior or the offending joke or the inappropriateness to own that and find that accountability to be able to cultivate a more healthy environment going forward.
Yeah. Well, that's a great answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
in businesses, and let's say like collaborations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And or working together with someone.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like those partnerships sometimes can not work out.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
They can be tricky.
Yeah. So what is it like a really great, healthy collaboration? Like there's always a give and take with that, right? Like, you know, say you're leveling up in your business and you probably just did this with, you know, you hire someone to get a website or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that look like? Like a healthy, you know, I email you, I'm listing it all. I'm answering the question.
Well, I think I might have different thoughts though, so keep going.
No, like I'm just thinking like professionally, you know, like even if you're like building a house, you expect when you pay your builder to build your house.
Yeah.
Right? Or any sort of, I want to talk about like good partnerships with people that you're resonating with, like you're on the same energy level.
Mm-hmm. And what looks good within that?
Yeah.
What feels good?
Yeah.
I'm thinking back. So actually, my boss shared a really cool question that she experienced, where it was a reflection question of like, can you think about the best collaboration meeting or interaction that you had? What was all a part of that? And I think that would be a really cool place to start, because then you're discovering what's really meaningful for you and what you would hope or expect to see from another person or group of people. So
we actually call them in the like online world discovery calls.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So I think even in person, you can do something similar to that too. So in my mind, like what would be helpful for me and what I've done in the past is I like to somehow connect with the people that I'm about to collaborate with. So whether that's to engage in something more light or fun, because the topics that I'm collaborating on are like youth who sexually offend against other kids and youth, or coming up on youth who access pornography. Like the topics that I'm bringing to the forefront are super uncomfortable when I collaborate in a professional setting. So I need to find some common ground, some safety, some laughter, some security between the group or the partnership in order to have some of these really delicate conversations. So when I think of like house building and stuff like that too, it's being on the same page. What does that look like? These are my visions. These are my hopes. These are my worries. I love hopes and worries. I think unpacking hopes and worries in any relational context or circumstance or project going forward can be really helpful. And then within that too, and I've done this in the past with collaborative groups as well, is what beliefs do we hold about what we're about to work on? So with our committee on youth who sexually offend, it's what beliefs do we hold true, or what stereotypes do we know about youth who sexually offend? And we have to acknowledge that these exist and then maybe debunk them in some way or understand it in some way. So sometimes those harder conversations might have to happen right off the hop to build relationship, and then you can move through some of the things later on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it is like right down from the beginning, and there are green flags, and I'm just going to go with yours is like very positive. There are red flags.
There totally are.
And if you're feeling them, and I love this. I haven't released this podcast yet, but this really wise, amazing woman, Carolyn King, came on, and she talked about that they're just discovering you have neurons in your brain, but you also have them in your heart and your gut. So thinking with your gut, like it's actually, they're discovering that those things are true. Like you do think, and same with like therapy and the way you're feeling things is how is my body feeling? So how it goes back to like your gut intuition.
Yeah.
Like if you're feeling in this discovery call, or in this first coffee, or in this first job interview, or even when you're taking on a client, right? Even if you're like for your business to grow and be, which I am doing a lot of, right? Even when I'm taking on clients, like that is a partnership and an exchange. Like I am creating something for them that they are paying me for, but ultimately I am giving them a service or a product or whatever. And sometimes there are people who you just don't connect with. And if you feel that intuitively right away, then best to get out of that situation and say, and I have in a lot of my classes, actually quite a few, is just a little section on ways of saying no, like professional ways of saying no.
Yeah.
A really great one is like, it's kind of a lie, but well, not really. I'm always really busy. I can't take this project on right now. I'm really overwhelmed. But here is a great person for a great fit for your project. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah.
And you don't have to even tell them that you're like,
You don't have to.
I don't have to do that. You don't have to do these projects. You don't have to be a part of this partnership.
Yeah. We can say no.
And don't come out of a place of like fear. Because what it is, it's allowing space for the right partnership and to trust your gut and trust your intuition that the right partnerships will come along.
Yeah.
And in all these things that we are talking about is you can write down, you can manifest, you can see yourself in these relationships, partnerships, business endeavors, if they're not happening currently. Like maybe you are in a relationship and you're like, I can't, you're exhausted and you're like maybe at the breaking point. Maybe imagine yourself in it might be a hard transition, but like see yourself and where you will feel safe. Because I feel like that was your number one place of advice, or like
is the emotional
piece
safety
of it, emotional
of
safety in everything.
Yeah. And I think like one of the things that from a somatic practitioner or practice that I try and do too, especially after meeting someone for the first time, is I take moments afterwards to say like what am I feeling in my body? Where is it in my body? And what is that part of me trying to tell me? And so we can have really knee-jerk reactions to those questions if we start to cultivate and practice it. And I call it a body snapshot of the day, but it's something that you can look at after exchanges with someone too, to really assess like, how am I experiencing this and taking it in? And sometimes it's not just a cognitive thought, I like this person, I don't like this person, it jives, it doesn't jive. It's I am hot in my stomach. And that is telling me that this is too much. Could be an example of what might show up in our bodies too. So I think You've mentioned that too, but just paying attention to ourselves and then advocating for what's coming up for us, I think is really huge.
And I feel like it's possible. We are intuitive beings, right? But I feel like we're so disconnected.
Yeah.
So what are some ways you can connect back to yourself personally? And what are some ways you can connect with your let's not go with all the partners. What are some ways you can connect back to your partner in life?
Okay, so the first thing that came to mind for connecting to self, I think there's a lot of science behind daily gratitude and starting our days off by working for ourselves versus working for another person. So whether that looks like waking up and doing 10 minutes of stretching or movement or a quiet coffee or reading or journaling or listing out what you're grateful for, but taking that first chunk of time in the morning where it's just for you. And that can be challenging when there's kids around.
No way.
And all of the things. But it's a practice to try and find some value and importance in. And even if you're only doing it twice a week, that's twice a week more than you were doing it before. In terms of connecting to your partner, kind of relating to that sense, I love like relationship vision dialogues is a really cool way to do it. So where do we see ourselves this summer? What do we want this summer to look like for us? Where do we see ourselves in a year? What are our accomplishments happening in terms of not necessarily financial goals or travel goals, but like our relationship? What do we want this to look like in a year's time? How are we interacting? How are we being together? 5 years, 10 years, and having kind of those really progressive, future-oriented conversations that you get to aspire to.
And what are some ways to like essentially, like, say you're moving through a stressful time when you're not able to be there for each other, because in your case you can't.
We can't.
You can't. There's no option. So like, what are some good activities that you can plan that you're like, okay, we're done this part. Like we did the thing, or we went on, like sometimes vacations with kids aren't really
Vacations
or
relaxing.
Yeah. So what are like some either activities if you don't have money? Let's start with that. Yeah. Activities if you don't have money to connect back with your partner after like a stretch of you did the things you had to do and you got through like this small season. Yeah.
We'll plan something. So we'll try and gauge when seating, I'll use seating as an example because it's so relevant for us right now, when it's going to be done and when we will have that evening to ourselves. So we do have 3 kids. We don't always get sitters. Sometimes we do. It's great if we can. We've already been talking about maybe taking one night at the lake, just the 2 of us, because then there's no phones. It doesn't cost us anything. It feels like a night away. And just to be able to soak up that time together. Otherwise, it'll be like a planned evening where once the kids are in bed, it's just for us. So again, disconnecting from technology is huge during that time frame. We won't even be like, let's just watch a movie together. It'll be, let's spend time together. Let's go for a walk together. Let's move our bodies. Let's take a shower together. Let's do something where it's more of a natural way of connecting that doesn't have outside influences involved in it.
Just the 2 of you.
Just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all at home. Because we don't go out because it's exhausting. I drove home Saturday night in the dark and I was like, this is so weird. I don't think I've driven at night in a really long time.
I know.
And so one of the things that we do as well that can be really engaging, whether it's relationally or sexually or anything like that, is, you know, to be able to ask each other even days before, okay, we know date night's coming up on Friday or something like that. What do you see for that night? What would you like me to do for you? What do you want to do to me? And you kind of make this agenda. Let's go professional language for a second. But you make this like agenda for your evening. This is what we're going to eat. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to put the kids to bed. This is how we're going to do all of these things together. That can be really helpful.
The night out with friends, just so people are like, if they're planning, the night out with friends and drinking and eating doesn't really go well with the connecting with sex night.
Not afterwards. No, everybody's too full and tired.
Yeah. So like lower your expectations and have those on, I think, different nights. Those are 2 different things. Yeah. Unless you're like, I don't know, into a quickie in a bathroom. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like if you're like, we did that at a hotel wedding once. And it'll never be forgotten.
No.
And you're like, let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. We didn't have kids yet. We're not doing it at this wedding.
It's not happening again.
Yeah.
Well, and it doesn't always have to be like a sexual, intimate connection too. Like there's so many ways to be intimately close
hand
to
massages people. Or hand holding. Yeah. Like any sort of like intimacy of like, you're like when you said disconnecting or going to the lake or going on a walk. Who goes on a walk together anymore, you know? Like we have neighbors who just, their kids, you know, got older, and I remember seeing them really stressed out in the season of life, and such a jerk. Like, I'm never gonna be like that, and now I'm the one yelling on the street, which is hilarious, but not at the same time. Looking like a psycho, chasing my child around the van, and him, in your robe. This was this morning. Yeah, or naked in the robe with him running out of the bathtub, or Finn ate sugar for breakfast and was like in one side of the van and out the other opening door and the buttons, and I was just like grabbing him and like putting him in. I was like, and that goes with booking time, because like today I felt like, even though I haven't changed out of my workout clothes and have just made every meeting, I still made it to the meetings, And this is what I call alone time.
Yeah.
Because they're not here.
It's for you.
It's for me. And booking those, my dad takes them on Wednesdays. Like, having those check-in times for yourself, having those check-in times for your partner, and scheduling it in advance. And we talked about this a lot in the last episode, I think.
Yeah.
Is like, what works for you is not going to work for everyone.
It's not.
But for me at this season of life, like, and I don't even like sharing it publicly, but I do because I'm really open and because I'm afraid of judgment. Like, at this point, I need to schedule in the night of sex.
Yeah.
Because
it works.
And since we've talked and since we've like done that, like, because I had reached out to you being like, I'm all touched out and like, I'm drowning here.
Yeah.
And at that same time, we implemented the night of expectation. So we both expect on that night. And sometimes it's not Friday, it's Thursday or Saturday. Like, there's wiggle room. It's not like...
It has to be. Yeah.
Right? And so some nights we'll feel less tired, so we do it on the less tired night. But it's taken off this giant weight of, like, it's just like, you know, on the other nights I just get to have my bath and go to bed, you know? And that's what works.
Sometimes we have to talk ourselves into it. Our brains don't always match what our bodies are responding to. And so it can be a bit of a brain twist of saying, I know I'm tired, but I miss my partner and I want to connect and I know that I'm craving that too. So I'm not going to go down the excuse road.
No.
I'm just going to say, I want to do this. I want to do this. I'm going to take it one step at a time, and we work our ways into it too. The other thing that's going through my mind with this too, and it's funny because Jean and I just talked about it this morning, when he's done his busy season, it's like that week afterwards where all of a sudden he's home with us again is the worst.
It's the worst.
It's like he doesn't know where things are anymore and what time the kids get on the bus, and it's like everything that he learned has gone out of his brain. And so I said to him this morning, this is the first time that I've been like thoughtfully thinking ahead about it, I guess. I was like, I think we need to talk about what that transition week looks like. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I want to murder you during that week. I'm like, I feel like I should expect that you know everything, and then you don't, and then I'm more frustrated.
It was like COVID, when everyone had to work from home.
Yeah.
How can you all be there at once? It was a nightmare for most people.
For sure.
Lots of divorces, actually.
Yes. So it's a conversation that actually I'll let you know how it goes, because we're going to figure out what does that look like.
Maybe you could go to the lake or something, or is it still school?
It'll still be school, but what's the tricky part is it's like...
We're done, we're going to the lake.
Let's say I'm getting ready in the mornings, and right now I know to do it earlier because I have to deal with the kids by myself. But then all of a sudden he's done seating, and he's home, and I'm getting ready thinking he's putting breakfast on the table, and he's just laying on the couch because he's exhausted.
Yeah.
Which fair. And I'm thinking in my head, why aren't you doing all of the things that need to happen tonight?
Yeah.
Or this morning?
Pisses you off. I hear you. Yeah.
So that's this little balance that we've got to figure out. And it is a way of reconnecting. So it has nothing to do with sex. It has nothing to do with date nights. It has everything to do with we've got to mesh back in together of how we're working together as parents. And now we've realized it needs to actually be a conversation, because that transition week has been very challenging for us.
Yeah. And there are like seasonal transitions, like, you know, the first week school's out.
Yes.
Or can't wait for that. Actually, school's going so late. I'm doing a mural. So
yes,
I feel really bad for the neighbor girl who's going to be watching my children. Yep. I feel really terrible. And I'll have to plan to help her out a bit, or get someone to help. You know, the biggest thing is, like, sometimes we just need to ask for help.
We do.
Yeah.
We really, really do. Yeah. And we need to lean on the people that...
Friends, family members, whatever that looks like.
Like Joy's gymnastics, my daughter's gymnastics days changed on a whim, and it's the night I have school for June. And I was like...
Shoot.
How am I supposed to do this? So I'm heavily leaning on my mother right now, who is going to be picking up Joy at 7 and driving her all the way to home. And we don't live in town, so it's asking, it's
That's
advocating,
amazing.
it's figuring it out, it's, you know, crying.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like we can't do it all, and we
No.
shouldn't.
No.
We shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are ways to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think being conscious and scheduling ahead, like we can't. There are things that are totally out of our control.
Yeah.
But when
You can try.
you can try. You can
And
do
it
your
can
best.
be a conversation.
You're really good at it.
It can be just a conversation, and we'll do that usually Sunday nights when we're in the groove and it's not one of our seasonal kind of busy times. Is okay, this is what our week looks like. This is, who's got a longer day on this day and needs to be more responsible. And so going back to earlier, it's not 50-50 every day. It's what's working best for our families. And I look at it as three, with families, there's maybe four. There's like mine and Jean's marriage. There's my needs. There's Jean's needs, the marriage needs, and the family needs. And when you're looking at a whole week, you have to take all four of those needs into consideration to make something feel balanced.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, balanced.
Balanced.
Yeah.
Balanced in the way that week needs.
I like everyone's so mad at the word balance. They're like, there's no such thing. But there is, though. There is. And it's looking at like every day, including a set of things that you value.
Yes.
Essentially.
And it's not perfect. The
No.
balance isn't going to be
we don't
like a
mean
teeter-totter
perfect.
that stays right.
No.
It's going to be bumpy, but you are aware of it. And that's maybe...
Everyone came out of it like not so mad.
Yeah.
We did it.
High five.
We all ate meals. We all, got to here and there. Mm-hmm. And it comes back to reflecting on your everyday. What went well. And I'm not talking about something crazy. I'm talking about Finn laughed, the morning was shit, but Finn laughed really hard when we were at the park and connecting. Mm-hmm. And then afterward he said, I love you. That's so sweet. Something.
And that went well.
So simple.
Mm-hmm.
So simple. And it's gratitude journaling, and everyone's like, blah. But
but there's
seriously,
science behind it. There's actual brain things that happen.
30 days. You do it for, if you haven't tried it, we obviously both believe in it. Mm-hmm. It only takes 30 days to shift your whole way of being.
Yeah.
30 days to switch.
And less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I've worked with some people where they're like, I don't want to journal. I don't want to write all the sentences. I'm the worst journaler. I'm going to bullet point everything because I don't have time.
Yeah. Bullet point, or even typing is fast.
Or email it to yourself, or write just 5 words that make sense for you. It can be so simple. Yeah. It doesn't have to be this beautiful process that we see this
odds are you're not going to reread it.
No.
So it doesn't have to make sense.
No.
It can be pictures. Yeah. It can be my friend who does art therapy, Leah Guzman. She has just a sketchbook, and she writes, and then she paints over it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. You can't even see it.
I learned from a friend too, where I kept recommending journaling, because it's what I kind of know, and I'm not an artist. And this friend said to me, I'm not going to journal, but I will doodle. I will draw. I will scribble. And I was like, oh my God, you just taught me something amazing, that it can be doodling, scribbling as a form of journaling as well. Mm-hmm. Which I think is awesome.
Well, I know we should definitely, now that I'm talking about it, because we've been trying to do some sort of programming for art therapy. Yes. I think we just figured it out.
Yeah, maybe it's journaling and doodling and drawing. And
a productive sketchbook.
Gratitude focused.
Yeah.
We will add it to our to-do list.
Yeah, right. I'm not saying tomorrow.
No,
in the future. The future, because I want to do. I'm such a believer in that sort of programming for our own community. Yeah. And using my creative gift to uplift and empower people and give them the tools to cope with what I've learned through the years and years of, it keeps getting higher. I'm just like, ugh. I've been doing this a long time. So start teaching the young people. No, but it's the thing about art is it's great for young and old at any stage of your life, whoever you are. So, and I know you work so hard in the community too. So this would be the perfect example of how a collaboration comes together. It's usually magically sparked and comes just out of conversations, a discovery call or a connection. And we hope that you in the future have these types of, let's call it like the trifecta of relationships we just talked about, and partnerships, and that you took away some tools today. Thank you, Heather, for coming on.
Thank you.
Once again, where can everyone find you?
At Joyful Living Counseling online on Instagram and Facebook. That's the best way to get me.
Yeah, and your website, right?
And my website, yes.
Joyfulliving.com?
Joyfullivingcounseling.ca.
.ca. I was not close.
I think it's .ca. Now I'm questioning
I'll list
Try
it.
both. Find me.
Google. No, I think everyone can find it. I have our final question.
Okay.
It's sponsored by Red Bicycle Communications. Describe your ideal perfect day.
Oh my goodness. That's so funny because I was just talking about this like a couple days ago. I would get up before anybody else, and I'm going to say I'm going to be at the lake because I miss the lake and I'm just craving nature. But I would get up before everybody else, and I would have a coffee and I would read, and it would be kind of cool where I'm wrapped up in a blanket, but the coffee's really hot, so it's perfect. And then I would go paddleboarding, and the lake would just be like glass, and then I would come back and Jean would have made breakfast because then I would be starving, but I don't have to cook it. That'd be a beautiful morning. It would just be hot and ready for me to eat. And then just like walks and nature and connection and being with my family and really good sex and a starry night. Like that would just be all of the amazing things. And lots of, I love to read in the summer and lay in the hammock and have a nap in the sun. Like, obviously I'm craving being outside.
Yeah.
But that would be
Ready
the perfect
for
day.
lake
But
season.
I love the quiet in the mornings. I will choose to get up before everybody else just because it gives me that space to settle my brain and to just be with myself before I have to be with everybody else. And I think that that's a really perfect way to start.
I admire you for getting up so early.
It
I
helps.
still have a 3-year-old, so one day I might get there
Yeah.
where he's not like, still loves to sneak into my room at night. So maybe, I don't know. One day I hope that it could get there. But I really love this question because everyone kind of describes like an almost real day already in their life.
Yeah.
So you're doing the right things.
I am.
Everyone's doing the right stuff.
Yeah.
Your ideal perfect days and seeing your everyday ordinary is extraordinary is possible.
It is. Totally.
Right? An ordinary day is extraordinary.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is fun. I like doing it here.
I like doing it here too.
Yeah.
This was nice.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. I sure do appreciate your time. Remember to check out that sketchbook project and get going, get creating, get out there, take on, you know what was really cute about them is they create really beautiful memories. We have ours from last year. Finn, because he's a little tiny artist, did 2. So he filled 2 sketchbooks in like 2 months. It was nuts. We even took them on vacation with us, which was really fun. And we did them at the beach. So in Victoria, and my niece joined in too, and actually a lot of my cousin's children joined it. Like it was really cool. Tons of artists joined too. So it's really like just one of those beautiful, fun, easy breezy, feel good, sunny, summery things. Okay, so that's in the notes. Join there. Check out our classes. Check out our mural class if you haven't already, or get that free mural bundle. And I just want to say I'm super excited about mural season because we're doing our largest mural ever, 3,000 square feet in our community. So the really powerful thing about murals is it's like the physicality feels really good. You're out there in your community, you're connecting with your community, and it's like years of connection and good vibes for you. The more you can share your creative gift, I just think the better. And they have this like magical way of bringing people together. So we are getting the ball rolling this week, we are meeting BioClean. Oh, this week, today, tomorrow, whenever this podcast release. Check out Brandy Hofer Studios Instagram. We'll be going in our stories. BioClean is coming to Watch the Wall. So literally you can watch this mural with all the steps and all the power of our community bringing this project together, and what it means to them. And it's pretty powerful, special stuff. So check that out. Follow along on social media. And also, my brain's not working. You heard the beginning of my podcast and you heard why. I'm surprised I'm even putting one out this week, to be honest, but I just had like this urge to connect and work a little bit and do something for me. So I appreciate you being here. And it was my 100th episode week, so I felt like that was very important. It's very important to me. It's a huge milestone. I couldn't do it without you. I couldn't do it without our wonderful sponsors, BioClean Disaster Services, Nouveau Laser and Aesthetic Center. They always help me feel beautiful in my own skin. Red Bicycle Communications, which they are just super badasses who do amazing stuff in our community. And Jill is a trailblazer, and I've always looked up to her as a business and a female business owner in our community. Oasis Hot Yoga and Spin Studios, a pillar in our downtown, like providing that safe haven for so many in our community. And I just talked to someone, I had them on, the podcast hasn't released yet, a firefighter, and he talked about how yoga was so important to PTSD. And I just like, yoga is so important, and it's so good for you to rest your mind with, no matter what you have going on in your life. It's something that you should be able to turn to on a regular basis, and it totally heals your mind and body. So it truly is an oasis in our community. So check them out. And all the love, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. Please feel free to reach out anytime. Super good on Instagram at Brandy Hofer Studios. I will message you back no matter your question, and because I appreciate you. And you are the heartbeat, and you pump the blood into everything we do. So thank you so much. And bye. If you're looking for some time for yourself to relax, release, and unwind, Oasis has the perfect space for you. They offer yoga and spin classes of all levels. Whether you are a beginner or advanced student, Oasis thrives on accommodating all aspects of the practice. Let their serene environment and gracious staff help you in your journey of peace, healing, and strength. Sign up online at www.oasishotyogastudio.com or by downloading the Oasis Hot Yoga Studio app. Feel like yourself. You deserve it.